She came charging across the yard like a thunderstorm, clutching a sheet of paper as if it were a weapon. "You can't stay here!" she shouted, her voice sharp enough to slice through the quiet street. Curtains rustled as curious faces peeked out from nearby windows. I was still unloading boxes from the back of my truck, pretending not to notice, but she marched right up and shoved the paper at me. "This is a notice of violation," she hissed. "Our neighborhood association doesn't let outsiders move in without clearance." I took a quick look. It wasn't anything official, just plain printer paper with the words, "Community Rule Breach," scrawled in thick black ink. I couldn't help but laugh, which only deepened the crimson in her cheeks. "Ma'am, this place isn't under your association," I said evenly. "This property isn't part of Maple Hollow. Maybe check your boundary maps before making a scene." Her expression faltered for half a breath, then curled into something meaner. "Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing," she snapped. "You think you can just move in here and poison what we've built? Not happening." Two men stepped up behind her, both dressed in dark, matching uniforms. My gut tightened. At first glance, they could have passed for police, but the shine on their badges was too perfect. Cheap replicas, maybe. "Get him off this lot!" she barked, jabbing a finger at me. The taller one stepped closer, hand drifting toward his belt. "Sir, you'll need to vacate the premises immediately," he said, voice flat and mechanical. I didn't budge. Instead, I folded my arms across my chest and met his stare head-on. "Funny," I said slowly, letting the word hang in the humid air. "This is my land. I closed on it yesterday." Her laugh cut through the quiet, sharp and high, but it didn't last. "Not for long," Marjorie spat. "Once my officers do their job, you'll be gone. People like you don't belong here." My blood simmered, but I kept my voice steady. I had a secret she had no clue about. A big one. I took a deliberate step forward. "Before you make a mistake, you might want to verify my papers," I warned. Marjorie curled her lip. "As if." The two imposters traded a quick, uneasy look, small, telling. I noticed. A smile pulled at my mouth. "You've got 30 seconds to walk away before this becomes an actual police matter," I said low and cold. For the first time, her certainty wavered. She blinked, then barked, "What are you waiting for? Remove him from the lot." The taller man shifted his weight, suddenly uncomfortable. Maybe we should radio this in first," he muttered. Marjorie whirled on him. "I'm running this operation." "Do it now." I thumbed my phone, finger hovering over a name that would flip the script. "Your move," I said, my tone a razor. Her smugness cracked. Rage replaced it as she realized I wasn't folding. She stamped a foot like a child denied a toy. "Fine, play your games." "You'll pay for this!" she shrieked, turning back to the pair. "Arrest him now or you're both fired!" The shorter man's eyes went wide. Fired? Actual officers don't get sacked by some neighbor. My suspicion clicked into place. They weren't cops. I tilted my head, amusement in my face. "Fired, huh? Curious choice of words." Marjorie's face drained as the slip landed, but it was too late. I raised the phone and dialed. The line connected at once. "County Sheriff's Office." The voice on the other end was firm, professional. "Hey, Mark," I said casually, eyes never leaving the two imposters. "Got a little problem over at Maple Hollow, couple of guys pretending to be cops. Think you and your crew could swing by?" There was a brief silence, then a crisp reply. "We're en route." Marjorie's complexion drained of color. "Wait, what?" "What are you doing?" "That's not necessary. They're just here to keep order," she stammered. I gave a low, humorless laugh. "Oh, they'll be keeping order all right, from inside a holding cell." The taller fake officer's hands trembled. "Ma'am," he muttered under his breath, "maybe we should leave." Marjorie snapped back instantly. "No, you stay put." "He's bluffing." I took a slow, deliberate step forward. "Bluffing?" I echoed softly.
"You really
"Think I'd buy property here, without knowing exactly who lives around me." I leaned in slightly, voice dropping to a dangerous calm. "And you think you can threaten me when my wife trains tactical units for a living?" The shorter man's eyes went wide. "To tactical? Ma'am, we should—" "Quiet!" Marjorie screeched, cutting him off. She turned back to me, trying to gather herself, but her voice quivered. "I don't care who your wife is. This is my neighborhood, and people like you don't just barge in and ruin it. That's when the sound hit. Sirens, faint at first, then swelling rapidly. Red and blue lights flickered at the end of the street. Marjorie spun, panic flashing across her face. "No, no, no," she whispered, stumbling backward. I folded my arms, calm as a stone. "Sounds like backup just arrived," I said evenly. "And this time they're real law enforcement." The imposters froze, then bolted without another word. Marjorie's shriek tore through the air. "Don't you dare run!" But they didn't stop. As the first sheriff's cruiser screeched around the corner, the two men vanished down the street, leaving Marjorie alone, trembling, her outrage collapsing into fear. The sheriff's cruiser screeched to a stop in front of my house, and before the engine even settled, the door swung open. Out stepped Sheriff Mark himself, boots crunching against the driveway as he leveled a hard glare at Marjorie. "Well, well," he said, voice edged like steel. "Mind explaining why we got a call? About you showing up with counterfeit cops to harass your new neighbor?" Marjorie's face flushed a furious red. "That's not true! He's lying!" "This is all just a misunderstanding." Mark lifted one eyebrow, unimpressed. "Interesting. You've cried wolf more times than I can count, Marjorie. This time, though," he tapped his chest, "we brought the body cams." I couldn't help the grin spreading across my face. Things were about to get good. "Body cams?" Marjorie sputtered, her hands trembling. You can't record me without my permission!" Mark gave a slow, knowing shake of his head. "That's where you're mistaken. Public property, active investigation. You don't get to opt out." He turned slightly, letting the lens on his chest plate squarely face her. "Now why don't you tell me why those two officers you brought along bolted the second we arrived?" Marjorie's voice wavered. They must have misunderstood me." "I didn't realize they weren't real police." I stepped forward, laughter slipping out. "Oh, really? Because I distinctly heard you threaten to fire them if they didn't arrest me." Sounds less like a misunderstanding and more like a boss yelling at her staff. Her glare could have burned through steel, but no words came. Mark crossed his arms, tone hardening. "I've just about had enough of your antics, Marjorie. You've filed over 30 bogus reports in the last half year. Noise, trash bins, garden heights, all nonsense. We let it slide because it was small stuff. But impersonating officers?" His voice dropped, low and dangerous. "That's criminal territory." Marjorie's breathing quickened. I was only trying to protect the neighborhood," she cried, spinning toward me and pointing as if I were the intruder. "Look at him. He doesn't belong here! His property isn't under our association. He'll ruin everything." Mark's eyebrows rose. "Not part of the association?" He turned toward me, brow furrowing. "Is that true?" Mark asked, turning toward me. I reached into the truck bed, pulled out a slim folder, and handed it to him without a word. "Here's the deed," I said evenly. "This place sits just outside Maple Hollow's jurisdiction. Marjorie doesn't have any say over it." Mark flipped through the documents, scanning them quickly before nodding. "All solid. You own it outright." Marjorie let out a shriek so sharp it made the hairs on my arms rise. No, this can't be happening. Our community has rules. He has to follow them." "Your rules stop where his property line begins," Mark said firmly. "And bringing in fake officers to intimidate a homeowner? That's a felony." The color drained from her face. She staggered back a step, her voice shaking. You wouldn't arrest me. I'm the association president." I couldn't help it. I laughed, the sound echoing across the yard. "Correction," I said, still grinning. "You were the president." Mark gave a small nod toward the deputies who had quietly assembled behind him. "Take her in for questioning. We'll find those impersonators next." Two officers moved forward. Marjorie shrieked, trying to bolt, but one caught her by the arm. "You can't do this to me!" she screamed, thrashing wildly. "I run this neighborhood!" Mark shook his head slowly, voice calm but unyielding. "Not anymore, Marjorie. You went too far." As they pulled her toward the cruiser, she twisted around, eyes burning into mine. "You'll regret this. This isn't over." I met her glare with steady calm. "Oh, it's over," I said. "You just haven't accepted it yet." The car door slammed and the sound hung in the air. Around us, neighbors who had been silently watching from porches began to murmur, some in disbelief, others with quiet relief. Mark turned back to me, his tone softening. You handled yourself well, Mark said, his tone easing. Most folks would have lost their temper back there. I shrugged, a faint smirk tugging at my mouth. Learned a long time ago, never lay all your cards on the table. He tilted his head slightly. Meaning? I leaned in, keeping my voice low enough for only him to hear. Let's just say I've been watching Marjorie for a while, and I've got proof of everything she's been up to. Mark's eyes flickered with surprise, but before he could speak, Marjorie's muffled screams echoed from the back of the cruiser. Guess we'll need that proof sooner than later, he said grimly. You'll have it, I replied. And once you do, she won't just lose her title. I looked toward the cluster of neighbors still whispering by their fences. She'll lose her entire grip on this neighborhood. Mark's gaze sharpened. What do you mean by that? Entire neighborhood? He asked cautiously. I drew a deep breath, unlocked my phone, and handed it to him. Here, it's all there. Security footage, voice recordings, forged contracts, everything. Mark scrolled through the files, his jaw tightening with each swipe. Good grief, he muttered. She's been skimming association funds for years. Fake maintenance invoices, bogus fines, even blackmailing her own board members. The murmurs from the crowd swelled as more neighbors edged closer. Straining to hear. She wasn't protecting this community, I said louder, my voice cutting through the chatter. She was bleeding it dry. And when anyone started catching on, she used those fake cops to shut them up. Gasps rippled through the gathering. An older man shouted, She fined me $500 for a flagpole! Another woman burst into tears. She made us repaint our house 3 times, said it wasn't the approved. White! We thought she was just strict, but she was scamming us. Mark turned to his deputies, his expression hardening. Get this evidence to the district attorney right now, Mark ordered his deputies. And lock down every association account linked to Marjorie. From inside the cruiser, Marjorie began thrashing against the door, her voice breaking into a shriek. No! Don't believe him, he's lying! I stepped closer, my tone calm but sharp enough to cut through her panic. You tried to ruin me the moment I arrived, Marjorie. But what you didn't realize is, I leaned down until my reflection filled her terrified eyes. I'm not just some new homeowner. Her glare faltered. Then who are you? She hissed. I lowered my voice so only she and Mark could hear. Federal investigator. Buying this house was part of a sting. Her face drained of all color. Her mouth opened, but no words came out, only a faint gasp. Straightening, I turned to the gathered crowd. This neighborhood is free now, I announced. No more bogus fines. No more threats. You'll elect a real board. Run this place the way it was meant to be run. The street erupted. Cheers, applause, even tears. Some people hugged, others shouted in relief. For the first time, they looked like a real community again. Mark glanced at me with a half smile. You handled that flawlessly, he said. Had me convinced too, I smirked. That was kind of the idea. 2 more cruisers pulled up to take Marjorie away. As they rolled off, her screams faded down the road, swallowed by the sound of applause. Near the curb, a little girl tugged at her mother's sleeve. Mommy, does that mean we don't have to move anymore? Her mother knelt, tears shining on her cheeks. That's right, sweetheart. We're safe now. I turned back to the neighbors, raising my voice one last time. This place belongs to you. Don't ever let anyone take it from you again. As the sun sank behind Maple Hollow, Mark extended his hand. So what now? You sticking around? I glanced at the house, the one I'd bought just to bring her down, and smiled. Yeah, I said. I think I'll stay a while. Mark laughed. Good. Something tells me this neighborhood could use someone like you. Down the street, a neighbor's camera caught the cruiser disappearing around the corner while the crowd clapped and cheered. For the first time in months, Maple Hollow felt free. And as for Marjorie, she was about to discover that when you pick a fight with the wrong neighbor, justice always moves in next door.